Hello and welcome to another episode of Threat Update. I'm Kilian Englert, and joining me today is Ryan O'Boyle. Ryan, how's it going?
Hey, Kilian. Doing well. Thanks again for having me on.
Thanks again for being on. We have yet another great episode for everyone today. Ryan was kind enough to come on, and we have a really cool technical discussion that we're going to cover. This one's all about ways that attackers can exploit some of your cloud solutions. And Brian, I think this might even tie back to an episode we did a while ago that SSO is the new Active Directory. So it's all coming together, I suppose. This is actually going to be one in a series of videos where we break down some of these steps and tools attackers go through to get inside of your organization using your various cloud applications, how they find data to steal, how they will also move laterally, pick the accounts to target, find data to steal, and then pivot to other repositories. Ryan, anything to add in the setup before we jump in on that?
Spot on so far. Just a reminder of what we talked about in the past, right? Active Directory, we always kind of consider that the central nervous system of our on-prem domain. As we move into the cloud, single sign-on, this is how we're assigning users the ability to access things like applications and other cloud services. So to target, somebody's single sign-on account, or even better, like we're going to talk about here, target an admin within something like single sign-on, really, really powerful accounts to go after.
That's perfect. So let's go ahead and switch over. And then Ryan, you're going to take us and the audience through this process. So let's go ahead and switch over to my screen. And then you all ready to get started, Ryan? We're going to jump right into this.
Let's do it.
All right, here we go.
All right. So, at this point, we're really talking about the first phase of this attack flow, primarily focusing on the intrusion phase. So in this particular case, we're going to be targeting an Okta admin, a single sign-on admin. And this user does have multi-factor authentication enabled. In order to bypass multi-factor authentication, we're going to be using a man-in-the-middle style attack. So for this particular attack flow, we used a tool called EvilJinx, EvilJinx 2.0 to be specific. This allows us to send out a phishing email. We're targeting the admin user. It looks like some sort of terms of service update or licensing update. Looks like a legitimate email from Okta. We have EvilJinx running on the left-hand side. As the user clicks on the link to view the new terms, they're going to be prompted for credentials just like they normally are. They're going to type in their username, their password, just like they normally do every time that they log into one of these cloud applications. And as this is happening, we're proxying this connection back to the Okta server, to the cloud server. So we take that username and the password, we pass along to Okta. Once that push notification or the OTP gets sent out to the user, again, we're proxying that back to the Okta server, which allows us to validate the user session. And at this point, we're capturing this user session token. So this is the already validated user session. We put a redirect link in there to have them authenticate again. Again, it makes it a little bit more realistic in that regard. But you can see as we dive into the details of this session a little bit deeper, we have that specific, unique ID for this session token. And from here, for the attacker's perspective, it's really just as simple as using some sort of cookie editor or cookie developer app where we can import this session token into our browser, and then we'll navigate over to our cloud application. So in this case, we'll navigate over specifically to Okta, the same application that we targeted this user for. No need to be prompted for credentials any further. We'll copy and paste the session token into our browser. And of course, we'll refresh the page at that point, and we'll have access to that user's specific session. So something to keep in mind, they will be kicked off that session from their side, but we had that nice redirect link to try to take them through another direction. So we can see pretty quickly here, we're into the Okta session. We now have administrative rights on Okta because we've targeted that specific Okta admin. And at this point, we can start to think about how do we move laterally throughout this organization? What do we do next? And again, keeping in mind, Okta is kind of the central nervous system for these cloud applications. And this is really going for any single sign-on application in general. We have direct assignments or some sort of application assignment that's built around each one of these users within the single sign-on capability. And you'll pretty quickly see here that we can use this to log into these different cloud applications as well.
But that's really crazy and powerful stuff, and it almost seemed too easy for an attacker with a little bit of motivation to go ahead and craft that nice phishing email and to set up the listener on the back to capture that information. So pretty powerful stuff. And Ryan, keep me honest here, but we've seen, phishing emails are still scarily effective, and we've seen attacks similar to this on 365 and a number of the other cloud platforms in the wild. So this isn't I wouldn't say unique, but it's, I don't know, you tell me, fairly low barrier to entry to get something like this going for even a somewhat motivated attacker.
Yeah, I mean, a tool like this has YouTube videos online, how-to guides on how to use it. A lot of this is pre-built into the application, from a pen testing perspective. So there's not a necessarily a whole lot of work that has to go into other than setting it up and doing a little bit of social engineering. Now, I think it's important to call out, by any means, we're not saying that we shouldn't be using multi-factor authentication. I know we figured out a way to get around it in this case, but it is a really important security control. And from my perspective, I think we should be implementing multi-factor, two-factor across any externally facing authentication portal. Really important to have that, but at the same time, the goal here is to emphasize no security control is perfect, right? There are ways to get around it, and making sure that we have a defense in depth mentality really, really important for our overall security posture, especially in the cloud.
That's great advice. And I think that's definitely something that's really important for our listeners to hear reiterated again. It's all about that defense in depth. That was really great. Thank you, Ryan, for walking us through that. We really appreciate it. If you enjoyed this content, please consider liking the video or subscribing to the channel. And maybe, if you found this interesting or you'd like to leave us a comment, we always read those and appreciate them. So, Ryan, thank you so much for being on. Thank you all for watching. We'll look forward to talking to you again soon. Take care.
Thanks all.